Today I'm going to be doing a rant review of Beneath Magenta Rain, a cyberpunk short story, and boy, do I have a lot of negative things to say.
Crap. Pure, unadulterated crap.
You can read this book for free if you have Kindle Unlimited, otherwise it's like $4, and trust me, free is about all that it's worth. I read it on my Paperwhite Kindle. This is the cover of it. I'll put an actual color cover up on the corner, and let's get started.
Prepare yourself.
Let's start off with a spoiler-free summary of the book, if you somehow don't know what it's about, because honestly, everybody that I know is reading it, so it's kind of weird if you don't know. But Beneath Magenta Rain takes place in a cyberpunk universe where there are people who are known as imperfects, or sometimes as a slur referred to as imps, and these individuals generally are just frowned upon by society due to various things, typically some sort of physical or mental disability. All of these people are shoved into the lowest class system, and they are forced to do most of the manual labor jobs and all sorts of other terrible things. The society is essentially built on their broken backs. It is a pretty terrible system, and we follow someone who is at its very bottom, and he works in a brothel. The only place that he feels he could go lower than working in this brothel called the Kiss and Tell is if he went to work in the mines, and that is occasionally mentioned throughout the story. So it is really terrible for him, but it's not quite as bad as it could possibly get when we begin this story. It's kind of hard to specify a genre for this beyond cyberpunk. There is a romantic element to it, or really just following him trying to escape from the brothel and seek his own freedom from the enslavement that he is suffering. So there's not really a super hyper romance plot to it, although there is romance that kind of runs through this plot on top of all of the horrible things that the main character goes through. I can't really classify it beyond just being a cyberpunk short story, but the cyberpunk and science fiction elements are very light. It's definitely light sci-fi. So if you want heavy sci-fi, this is definitely not for you. But there are other reasons that this short story isn't for you. I want to mention as well that it somehow won an award from the Writers of the Future competition, which is just bizarre. After reading it, I'm really not sure what the people at that competition are smoking. It is pretty dreadful. With the summary out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into my actual thoughts on the story and give it the cold hard treatment that this definitely deserves. First of all, let's talk about the writing. As I mentioned, this won an award, and I'm really not sure why, especially given that the competition it won an award from is the same one that gave us great writers like Patrick Rothfuss. How in the world did this win? For one, I want to mention that the writing is extremely straightforward and approachable and even blunt at times, as opposed to flowery and difficult to understand. Most of the sentences I really only had to read once in order to understand them, and that's not what I want. When I read a book, I want to struggle with every other word, and I really didn't get that here. It was a bit disappointing. I actually flew through this book and finished it in about an hour to an hour and a half. And in fact, most people I've talked to have said they finished it in roughly 1 to 2 hours. It is just absurd. Even for a short story, you should be expecting to spend at least 3 days struggling to read this thing. If you are not sweating while you're poring over the book, then the writing is objectively terrible. So the writing in Beneath Magenta Rain definitely it's not as flowery as it should be in order to be a respectable work. And in particular, if you are writing a short story, you should have more time to devote to making your writing just almost incomprehensible. And more on that, let's talk about the structure of the book, because Beneath Magenta Rain is not only just a short read, but it is a short read. When I think short story, I think, as I said, 1 to 3 days of reading. To only take an hour, that's ridiculous. I got this book thinking that it was going to take up roughly a week of my time, and now that I finished the story after just 1 to 2 hours, I'm really not sure what to do with the rest of my day. It's actually why I'm filming this, is because I'm bored. I had blocked out my entire day to read this short story, and instead now I have roughly 23 hours if I don't sleep, which is just ridiculous. When I get a short story, I really want to know that I'm going to be dedicating a very large block of time to it. So to only have to spend 1 to 2 hours reading this book is it's honestly obscene and kind of insulting from the author. I think the cover should have had a warning on the front that said something along the lines of, hey, this book is only going to take 1 to 2 hours to read. Make sure that you plan your day accordingly. Don't block out your whole day for this. If I had seen that warning, I would definitely be prepared and have some things that I can do today. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Another journey through the lands between and Elden Ring? I don't think so. Next, the title Beneath Magenta Rain gives me warm, fuzzy feelings. I like to think that the rain is soft and cozy and that everything is going to be happy in this wonderful cyberpunk world. I really actually picked this short story up hoping to finally get a book that has no conflict and no dark content. And boy, That was not the case. No, there's a lot of dark content in this book. Now there is quite a bit of fade to black for some of it, which I'm so grateful for. I really don't like when I see anything that is grisly or dark or hard for me to handle or think about. So thankfully we have several moments where it is just fade to black. He at least gave us that. But there is still dark content, and there are even some really sad parts in this short story. The author made me really upset for roughly 1 to 2 hours, and that's not something that I like. You know, on reflection, maybe I'm glad that I didn't spend my entire day reading this book, because then I would have just been sad for the entire day and maybe even longer as I reflected on it. Instead, I really wasn't sad for too long, which is good, and I wasn't having to constantly just be bombarded with how incredibly sad and dark this book is. I really prefer when the world is kind and sweet to our main character. I want to read a giant novel where nothing bad ever happens. Instead, I got a short story where a bunch of really sad things happened, and I don't like that, and I don't think anybody else does either. This wouldn't really be a rant review if I don't take some time to dig at the author. First of all, the author's name is, and I will show you again on here, the author's name is T.L. Bainter. Not, you know, his actual first name and middle name. No, he hides those from us. And why is he hiding that? Why will he not tell us what the T and the L stand for? It's kind of absurd and really scary. I want to know what he's done in his past. Why is he not giving us his full name? I tried Googling it and nothing bad came up, which you know means that he's definitely hiding something. He has paid somebody off to clear his name from Google search results, from all of the Google search results. He has paid somebody off to make sure that his name does not pop up when you search for T.L. Bainter murderer, and I'm pretty sure that that's what he is, especially because of how dark this book is. I can only assume that he's done some horrible things in his life. And you know, we could clear this up if he would just release his birth certificate so that we could see his full name and finally understand who he really is and do our own research about this author. The fact that he is hiding so much really does not bode well for him as a person, as an author, or for his entire career in this space. And then on top of that, he has an extremely self-indulgent YouTube channel where he just releases a bunch of videos to roughly 30 people at most. And that is really sad. It's about as sad as his book, honestly. That's pretty pathetic, and he should probably stop. The self-indulgence and narcissism that you have to do in order to sit in front of a camera and just yammer while nobody else is in the room is simply insane, which only drives me to believe that not only is he crazy, but he's probably done a bunch of crazy things, and that is why he is not giving us his full name. So to the secret, hiding, and most likely evil and insane author T.L. Bainter, release your birth certificate, or I will continue to harass you asking for it for the next 3 minutes. I'm not actually going to sit here and do that in this video, but I'm going to just send you a bunch of emails. Oh, and one more thing about just how completely crazy this guy is. He's actually filming his own rant video for his own short story where he is disparaging his own book. What's crazier than that? So my overall rating for Beneath Magenta Rain. But before I get to that, I want to let you know that you can like, comment, and subscribe, all of which help out the channel and will help me to create more rant reviews in the future. So my overall rating for Beneath Magenta Rain. After this harrowing experience of reading this short story and suddenly having this huge block of time in my day, I can really only say that this book is terrible. It is a complete waste of time, and I really don't understand why in the world he thought that it was okay to publish. It is just honestly really horrible. I don't have much else to say beyond that. I would give it 0 stars, but unfortunately Amazon forces you to click on the 1 star if you want to give a book a rating. So I'm going to give Beneath Magenta Rain 1 star out of obligation to give it something. So 1 star to T.L. Bainter's Beneath Magenta Rain. And if he releases his birth certificate, I will give it 2 stars instead. I would really appreciate it if you would actually stop by and read Beneath Magenta Rain. It would mean the world to me, especially if I could get your feedback on that, whether you love it or hate it. I would love to hear from you because it's only going to help me improve. So thank you very much for considering doing that and for checking out this channel. If you would like to see another video from me, you can do so by clicking up here. And until next time, bye.